Good evening to all of you. As was mentioned, I'm a nuclear scientist by training. Over the last few months, I've been seeing some headlines in the newspapers which started worrying me and started making me think. And I'm sure some of these headlines you must have also seen. Agitation against the introduction of Bt-brinjal resulting in a national moratorium. All of you must have seen this. Agitation against the Koodankulam nuclear power project resulting in considerable costs and time overruns. Both are important projects from the country's point of view. The Bt-brinjal issue is that it is a variant of a brinjal cultivar with the introduction of an extra gene, and it's supposed to give it an extra resistance towards pests. In other words, means it increases the productivity, and this technology has been around for a number of years, and it has been cleared by the government in 2009. But when there was an agitation, they had put it on a moratorium. On the other hand, genetically modified items are in the shelves of supermarkets in several countries across the world. A nuclear power project, of course, I'm coming from that family. So I start worrying what's going on. For the last 40 years we have been working, suddenly something is happening. And we have a problem in terms of energy. This country is energy poor. And if the projections are right, we need energy in the next 20, 30 years. And nuclear is a part of this. It's a basket which we are going to think of, including renewable energy. But nuclear is not something which can be forgotten, at least according to my group of people. So I said, what's happening? Because both the projects are in public interest. There is no question on that. At least the purpose for which the projects are being planned are because of the interest for the country. And the agitation comes because of unacceptable public risks as perceived by a section of the people. Some people think that this is not safe enough, and therefore we should not go by these particular options. Though I was also surprised to see repeated assurances by the specialists do not seem to be cutting the ice with the agitators. In the case of Bt-brinjal, there was a document which was brought by the science academies of the country, and they said, sorry, all of them have a vested interest in this, and therefore this is not something which you would like to have. Same thing happened with the power project. They said, well, he is the chairman of Atomic Energy Commission, he is paid for doing his job, and therefore what he says is not reliable. Well, it may be true, but what made me worried is the following, that if I have a suspected heart problem, and if somebody says, don't go to a heart specialist because he has a stake in it, so go to an astrologer or somebody else, I will not feel comfortable. And I saw a similarity here that you recognize somebody is a specialist, but you just brush him off that, no, since he is a specialist, he is not reliable. That's something funny. Of course, there are questions. Are there really unacceptable public risks associated with this object? This is something which we need to discuss. And this question we have to ask ourselves every day, because there is no yes or no to this forever. So you will have to continuously evaluate this. Are there long-term interests of the country being compromised by this agitation? A few people agitate, and we take some steps, and then completely derails our programs for the future. The future as a country being compromised? I don't know. And of course, this major question is India turning into a risk-averse society? Are we trying to say anything which is not 100% safe? We should not touch. If my entrepreneur friends would tell me, if you take that step, you are doomed forever. So this is something which has been worrying me. I'm sure it has been worrying many of you also. You will realize we are on the threshold of an era which is of a fast-changing technology. Whether you are worrying about transport, communication, healthcare, education, or entertainment, there is no way, there is no place in life, day-to-day life, where there is a technology signature is not present. And more importantly, some of these technologies are indeed disruptive. They completely change the way in which you are living. The way in which we used to live in the early days, communicate with each other, is not what we are trying to do. Some of the things which are pointed out by earlier speakers. And they bring in fundamental changes in the way we carry out our activities. Now, what is the impact of this? Some people tell me that this cell phone has ruined my life. so no cell phones, all right? Because it is ruining the family life, it is ruining many things. I'll come back to this a little later. And this is something which we need to worry about. Long-term impacts, not of the technology itself, because of the socio-economic changes, political changes, security issues, they are not even known. It's a new technology. What is the impact of social media? We don't know. We see it is important. We see it is making an impact. What will be its impact 20 years down the line? I cannot predict. Nobody can predict. And in those such cases, can we take, say, no risk and no option? This doesn't look reasonable. I want to also draw your attention to one more headline, which is a similar thing but different. As was mentioned by one of the speakers, today we have something like 900 mobile phone subscribers in India. This is as of January 2012. In a country of 1.3 billion people, it is a fairly large penetration. 35% of them are from the villages. And it is also important to note that the rural subscription base is actually increasing their advent. That means they are recognizing the importance of cell phones much more than even the urban people, or it is already saturated, so it's not growing as much. But the fact remains that the cell phone technology is being absorbed by people irrespective of their social or educational backgrounds. It is a fundamental game changer. Somebody mentioned again, this is, everyone will be in some form a smartphone, and it will not be only for communication. It's going to do a lot more things in your day-to-day life, and it is going to change the way in which the day-to-day living takes place. Now, one might ask, last 10 years before, we didn't think it is going to. In fact, Government of India used to think this is the rich man's luxury, and the government officers need not carry a cell phone. My driver discovered the use of cell phone before I did as secretary. So, but is this technology devoid of long-term risk? There is no risk on this? No, that's not true. You know, just 2 weeks before, there was a report from IIT Bombay that tower radiation is a health hazard. If you are living, say, 50 meters from the tower, if your house is there in that, 24 hours you get exposed to it, bound to have cancer, bound to have some problems, tumors. It could be an environmental hazard. People say, for example, Western Ghats, wherever there are mobile towers, the population of butterflies are coming down. And they are the pollination agents. That means 20 years down the line, your biodiversity is going to be very different. So the so-called bio spot, which we are trying to conserve, will disappear. Constant cell phone use is a health hazard. Now, I used to carry it here in this pocket. They said, no, it's bad for your health. Then I said, no, I will put it in the belt. They said, no, that is bad for your kidney. Then I said, no, I will put it in my pocket, in the part packet. No, that's not good for either. Then I carry it here. No, it's bad for your brain. So finally I said, I carry it. Doesn't matter if I die, but I need it. So the balance of advantage is in using the cell phone rather than worrying about whether I will get say cancer 20 years down the line or 30 years down the line. There are also cell phone use is distracting. The number of people who carry and talk while driving a two-wheeler is enormous in Bangalore. Right? It's a health hazard. It's not even a health hazard. It's an invitation for a disaster. The number of people who keep talking when the car, irrespective of whether it is legal or not, is very large. And in fact, many people say that the biggest danger for life in Bangalore is to get out of the house into the traffic jam. It is not anything else. It is a traffic accident which is the biggest killer in Bangalore, perhaps every city in the country. It can also interfere with your medical device. If you have a heart pacemaker, you are in trouble. It can interfere with, of course, sensitive systems like in a plane you are not allowed to use. So it is not that it is totally risk-free. The cell phone is not risk-free, but this country has accepted it as a friendly neighborhood technology. Everybody uses it. Why is it? What made them accept this as a friendly technology, whereas there are agitations about some other technology? Where is the choice? On what basis the public is making these technology choices? This is a question I want to raise. You may ask, who decides this? Is it the individual who decides? or it is somebody else, external force which is deciding it? Is it a commercial organization which is deciding? Who decides it? And who protects public interest? Commercial organization is worried about their own company profitabilities, and individuals take care of themselves. Who worries about the collective? Say biodiversity in Western Ghats, who worries about it? One would have thought, well, the government should do it. It's a standard thing. We expect the government to take care of everything. And in most routine matters, this is not unreasonable. This is okay. They do take place. They have a judicial power, legislative powers, administrative powers. So in principle, they can take care of. Whether they do or not, we may disagree on that. I will tell you, but not now. But democratically elected governments have another problem. They may be guided by experts, they may be guided by anybody else, but ultimately they cannot ignore public sentiments. You collect 10 people, you better listen. Otherwise, it's not possible to bring in any. In fact, what we call as a coalition dharma. We see it happening every day, that a wrong decision is being taken because of political expediency. It has nothing to do with the technical matters, not judicial, not legislative, nothing. It's purely political requirements. So we have a problem. So we cannot leave it to the government. Who else does? How public sentiments are molded? How does it happen? How do they see the risks associated with the new technology when they don't know the technology? I mean, if you talk about a man on the road, does he know whether it is CDMA, GSM, what is radiation? Nothing. He doesn't know anything, but he has to take the decision. How does he do it? Do they know enough about it? Okay. How does one assess public sentiments? Is it the number of people who assemble in the street corner and number of deaths taking place in public shooting? Is that the measure of public sentiment or something else? Right? We talk about what happened in the Anna Hazares. Okay. How did we do it? Is it only the number? Is it some other method? There must be a better method of doing it. We don't know. Are there better methods? I don't know. What if there is no consensus? Let's say the whole country, 1.3 billion, 1.29 billion agree, but 10,000 people don't agree. What do you do? If there is no consensus, the chances are there won't be consensus. So we really don't know how to handle it. And last, how to protect the system with vested interests. There will always be vested interests. There will always be political interests. Some country doesn't want you to do it, or some individual doesn't want to do it. Some company doesn't want to do it. So there will always be vested interests. How do you protect ourselves from such vested interests? This is a question. So effectively, the 2 or 3 newspaper reports, apart from many others, raise these questions in my mind. Where are we, and why does it happen? How do we handle this? You'll agree with me, life is all about making choices. Cost-benefit analysis. Anybody will know, so you have to do cost-benefit analysis, and you have to also make risk analysis. Risk is something unexpected. Cost goes up unexpectedly, that's a risk. Benefit comes down, that's a risk. Or there may be a risk over and beyond cost and benefit. They need not be all financial. May not be even be quantifiable. It could be psychological. A fellow, my friend goes, when my friend here, a new friend from here, she went and swam the ocean without knowing the swimming one month before, like 6 months before. Why will anyone do it? Right? If I do a risk analysis, I will say, no, I will not go anywhere near. She has done the risk analysis and has gone and done that. So obviously, it's not possible to have quantifiable result. This is where, if it is there, if this is where this sub 1 minus A minus B gives positive, there is no risk. No, it's not possible. A lot of individual thing is involved, and it may not be upfront. You think you do all the calculations, 6 months later something changes. So your cost may increase or may decrease, benefit may increase, benefit may decrease. How do I take that into account? Or if I'm going to wait for next 6 months, that will never come. That means I'm not making the decision. How does the community look at risk? Perception of risk at the personal level is primarily psychological. Typical example. Okay, and mostly it is subject to individual experiences, your own experience, and it's not possible to have experiences on everything. Secondary information, ask your friends, ask your relatives, read some things on this. So a lot of secondary information all goes from there. It varies from person to person. Time to time it varies. Known risks are more readily accepted. Something which is not known your chances are you will be more afraid of it and would like to avoid it. Most of our superstitions comes from there. In matters involving an emerging technology, you have no past experience. We don't know. It's all futuristic. And the future projections are always incomplete. You will never know the full details. And it's technological, so you don't understand what he is saying. When somebody says accident, possibility of accident 1 in a million, and this is 1 in a billion, so that is better. Do you understand? No, you don't understand. What is the meaning of that? If the accident probability is a million or a billion, makes no difference. So technical jargon makes it more complicated. And sometimes it also leads to technological superstitions. The best technological superstition which I have come across is the nuclear magnetic resonance is the bottom line of MRIs of today. And someday they said nuclear magnetic resonance is not very safe because nuclear is there. Change the name to magnetic resonance imaging so that it is safer. That is technological superstition. Risk acceptance is even more complex. Now at the personal level, I like it, I decide, I do it, no problem. But as I mentioned, person to person is different. Known risks are avoided, is okay. But still it is my choice. I do it, I accept it, I do it. Nobody can question me. The moment there are 10 people, a group of people, or a country together, you have a problem because 1 billion people will not have the same perception. Each one has his own perception. And sociological and cultural backgrounds matter. If you are typically from a South Indian Brahmin family, you will not wear a uniform. Safe. Teaching job is better. Some other villages, you have the entire group, village goes into and joins the army or some other things. There's a lot of psychological, sociological, cultural issues are involved. Major problem comes, the population of beneficiaries and the risk bearers are never the same. Somebody pays the price, somebody else. So people used to say, in national interest you do it. You move this place, move away from here because it is national interest. It used to work 50 years before. Jawaharlal Nehru said it is national interest is good enough. Today it is not good enough. What do I get? What do I get? Right? And unfortunately, the so-called compensatory benefits are never fair. And sometimes it is even worse. Say Singrauli, for example, it's a place in, it's a hub of energy. 1950, they were asked to move, 200,000 tribals were asked to move to build a dam. 10 years, they said, I'm sorry, this is not enough. You have to go another 10 kilometers away. So they were shifted 10 years later. Then they said, no, we have found a big coal deposit here, so we want to have a series of coal power stations here. They were asked again to move. So 1998, some World Bank project came, said we will have a big ash pond, modern ash pond here. They said, get lost, we are not going to move from here. All right? The reason is also true. After 3 shiftings, the tribals never got a school, never got a hospital, never got even electricity. The whole country gets electricity from there. They never got anything. Who will have that kind of compensatory benefit which will induce you to take the risk? Also, ethical and moral issues will come. All the animal conflicts which are taking place, animal corridor, tiger corridor. What is this? This is not caste alone which matters. So you have a problem there. Rarely possible to have consensus, not possible. And vested interest I cannot be kept off. This is the ground reality. Of course, some people argue, why do you take a risky option at all? Let's have only safer options. Unfortunately, in life, there is nothing which is risk-free. Even if you sit in the house, you may die of something else. Right? So there is nothing. So zero risk option is not something which exists. What do you do? In such matters, what do you do? This is the main issue. And some other things which are coming in. One thing I am seeing now this slide is my view. You may or may not agree with it. This is my view. Number one, whether you like it or not, you cannot do away with the domain experts. You cannot, it doesn't make sense to say that experts cannot be believed. If I have a heart problem, I have to go to the heart specialist. I may choose the which heart specialist, but I cannot go to an astrologer. This is very clear. Now, sometimes what happens, genuine difference of opinion among specialists also create confusion. One person says something, another person, for scientific reason, thinks it may not be 100% right. There are always difference of opinion. The common man says, this man doesn't agree with him, therefore both are wrong. That is a dangerous situation. We don't have people, generally the technology people cannot communicate. They have difficulty in communicating with the non-technologists. And we need some set of people who are good technology communicators who can take the technical matter, convert it into a nice understandable form, and dish it out to the public concerned. Unfortunately, we don't have many people, and we don't train many people also. Of course, media is the only way of reaching out. But there is a big but there. Whether it is print or whether it is TV, whether it is even social media, I will have to take it with a pinch of salt, because today there is a paid news, and what is important is not coming in the headlines. What will sell comes in this. So we have a problem with media, but we have no alternative. You cannot do away with media. Of course, the leaders make a difference, whether it could be political, religious, social leaders, anybody can be there. But that's a double-edged sword, because they can work in your interest, or they may look at the next election and do exactly the opposite. You don't know what they will do. So, but you can't do away with them. And society is vulnerable for misinformation, vested interest. And what you do? I have only projected the problem, because where is the solution? I don't know the solution. Right? But so I believe that we need to continuously carry out research how to handle this, because here there is a technology, sociology, psychology, economics, politics, everything is mixed. And unfortunately, in our own educational system, we have put nice walls, silos. So there is very little interaction between the different groups of people. We need to break that, and we need to do some studies how to handle this. And a solution coming from across the oceans will not work, because our society is different from that society. So we cannot borrow solutions. We have to find out your own solutions. And of course, therefore, continuous engagement with the public is very essential. And my own feeling is leave the oldies out. You have to target the youngsters for two reasons. They don't know what cannot be done. So they have no preconceived perceptions. Perceptions once into the mind will never go. So we have to target the youngsters and to do this, and we have to ensure that this problem is looked at. I would like to stop here. I hope I have been able to convey some of my agonies. Thank you very much.